All right. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Carrie Drinkwine, and today I am here to talk to you about the regenerative secrets of molecular hydrogen and how it contributes to human health. So, if you don't know me, I am a traditional naturopath and a regenerative detox specialist, a regenerative health practitioner. I own Wise Wellness Clinic as well as the Institute of Regenerative Health, and it really is my mission in the world to teach people that suffering is optional, but not only is suffering optional, but we actually can thrive in every single body that has, come into this world. I believe that we can always help our bodies regenerate themselves. And so today I want to educate you a little tiny bit on what is regenerative health, but mostly what is molecular hydrogen and how does it support this regeneration in the human body. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. We are here to talk about an amazing, amazing company called Lumivitae, which means light of life. But before that, you are just going to get oodles of education for free on molecular hydrogen and its components and how it works inside the human body and the human cell. We are calling this the hydrogen revolution. You're going to be able to see why molecular hydrogen is so important to human health. So with that said, the regenerative secrets of molecular hydrogen coming to your door today. And I want to try to take the human cell and simplify it for you. So as we move through these slides here, you will see that what is molecular hydrogen, first and foremost. Some of you are brand new and have no idea what molecular hydrogen is. So molecular hydrogen is what is known as H2. It's a diatomic molecule composed of two hydrogen atoms. So there are two hydrogen atoms. It's the most abundant molecule in the universe, and it plays a crucial role in all cellular function. Now, it's also the original atom that started all of life. It's the first atom that we see on the periodic table. It also is essentially like where we all come from. We are all made of hydrogen. So this is why this is so powerful. And second to that, it's also the smallest molecule in the world. You'll hear that importance in just a moment. The regenerative health perspective. So this is what I love to share is every single one of us that's sitting here on this call has approximately 75 trillion cells and two major fluid systems. And those systems are what make up our cellular health. So regenerative health is really this concept of not treating, but repairing, regenerating. We don't use the word heal, of course, but we are focusing on regenerating the body at the cellular level and getting to the root cause of an illness. And I like to give just a small example. If I have really slow digestion for some reason, a doctor might give you something for indigestion, right? Some Pepsid or whatever chemical compound to treat the symptom of indigestion. A naturopathic practitioner might give you hydrochloric acid from a natural source. And a regenerative modality or practitioner would actually focus on the root of repairing the gastric glands, because why are they not producing enough hydrochloric acid? So that's the difference between treatment of symptoms versus regeneration. So in regenerative health, we believe at getting to the root, getting to the cellular level. It's rooted in reactivating our body's natural wisdom. Your body is designed to detoxify itself. It's designed to repair itself. It's why we get a cut and our body heals it, right? We are amazing self-healers. But we've gotten off base in our internal terrain. So what you're going to learn about today is how molecular hydrogen actually is one of the most supportive modalities in the entire world to activate the inner wisdom of the body and repair it at the cellular level. And this is why I am aligned here personally, because I'm about efficiency. Everything needs to be efficient and maybe the most scientific advanced modality possible for me to align with, because I want to help each individual get to a homeostasis or a healthy state as quickly as possible. So efficiency is very important. Now, next up is the body is about 75 trillion cells and 2 major fluids that regulates every single function in our body. We have tons of fluids in our body, but our major fluid systems are the blood and the lymph. The blood feeds all of our glands and our organs, and the lymph cleans all of our glands and our organs. This is very, very important. Essentially, the lymphatic system is the bathroom, and the blood is the kitchen of the body. And every single cell is impacted by the environment that surrounds the cell. So with that said, this is actually the work of epigenetics. Epigenetics talks about the environment that surrounds the cell is more important than the information inside the cell, than the DNA itself, because the environment is going to dictate how that cell expresses, how those genes express themselves. So how do we tie all this into water and molecular hydrogen? Our body is estimated to be about 70% water. However, like I said, we have 75 trillion cells. They're actually composed of over 99% water. And each cell is comprised of 99% water. So in a way, you can actually say we're essentially 99% water. So you can imagine how water is a vital part of your life force. And now we're going to tie that into molecular hydrogen. So first and foremost, what is the role of water in the body? Water transports nutrients in the body. It transports oxygen to every single one of our cells, intracellular and extracellular. So not only is it working inside the cell, but it's also water surrounding the cell to protect the cell. It's a major barrier component to buffering acids and toxins in the body. It's a huge component of the blood, which carries nutrients to every single cell and removes waste. I always say weight is waste, right? So when we have excess weight on the body, it's because we have excess waste in the body. So water is one of the very first steps of allowing your body to release the excess waste, because it's able to remove waste products from the body. And it also converts your food into energy. So if you're eating food, but you're very dehydrated, you won't be able to convert that food into usable energy for your cells. Now, water protects and provides cushion to our vital organs. So if we're dehydrated, we're going to have a lot of issues. And without proper water intake, we don't receive essential nutrients, which is crazy. A lot of people are supplementing, taking lots and lots of supplements. I won't get into why I don't support isolates, but without taking proper hydration in. And this actually causes a large amount of stress on the body and on the organs. And this will eventually lead to what's called cell death when we have too much dehydration and lack of mineralization and vitamins. So water is essential for transportation of all nutrients within the body. All right. So in this regenerative health view, to give you a quick overview before I start talking specifically on hydrogen and how it works, is our bodies are naturally designed to detoxify, right? If I go outside and a garbage truck goes by and I breathe in some gross fumes, my lungs and my cells start to work to detoxify that waste out. It's supposed to mitigate exposure to pathogens and antigens, chemicals and toxins that actually come into the body. But our bodies can't do it all, right? We were never meant to be exposed to so many toxins in a lifetime, let alone a day. They say on average, an average woman puts over 120 carcinogenic chemicals on her face a day. So this is stuff that we were never prepared for. We're breathing in toxins. There's pesticides in our food that actually interrupt the structured water in our body. Pesticides actually highly interfere with the cell function and structured water. It actually denatures and destructures the water in our body. And EMFs, and on and on. So you might be thinking, oh my gosh, this feels like doomsday, right? But our body is designed to do this. So the problem that has come is we're overwhelmed. The body is too full, right? The fluid in the body says there's too many toxins here, there's too many pesticides, there's not enough water, there's not enough way for me to get this stuff out. And so this is where this molecular hydrogen comes in. So what essentially happens is we experience an overwhelm in the body, and we start to produce what's called reactive oxygen species. This is very, very important to understand because reactive oxygen species are a byproduct of the cell. Now, our cell naturally produces what's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It's energy. So every time you eat, say you eat a banana, the body starts to go through digestion, absorption, utilization, and then elimination. But in that utilization piece, after the body has broken down the nutrients, delivered it to the cell converts it to energy called this fancy ATP, and that's how we have fuel. Well, in addition to producing ATP, we also produce what's called ROS, essentially as a byproduct. ROS is reactive oxygen species. And if we have a reactive oxygen species is produced, there's good and there's bad. They're not all bad, but they are components of this output of the cell, essentially. Now, I want to give you a very tangible example. So if I exercise, which I do every day, I lift weights, I'm creating stress, right? A lot of times you lift weights to failure. So you're creating stress in the body, which is called oxidative stress. Why? Because I'm actually asking my cells for more energy. I need more energy, more energy, more energy so I can exercise. So the cell produces more and more. The mitochondria upregulates my energy production. And then I also upregulate my reactive oxygen species. So I produce a lot of them. And this is what we call too many oxidants in the body. So after exercise, we have to recover with what's called reductants. Reductants are very, very important. And so when we have heightened levels of ROS, reactive oxygen species, this increases the oxidative stress in our body. Oxidative stress is the main component to cellular decline and cellular damage. This causes advanced aging. It causes inflammation. I say the fancy words are pathogenesis of illness. Essentially, that just means it puts you in the environment to be in the downfall of your cell, essentially, a degenerative process versus a regenerative. So too much oxidative stress is your enemy. And this stress will come from pesticides. It will come from food. It will come from having a really high stress life. Not getting enough sleep will affect us deeply as well. So the way that molecular hydrogen supports regenerative health directly is because it works right within the cell. It works at the cellular level. Regenerative health, I call it the direct pathway to source because hydrogen is the molecule that created all of life. It's small enough to penetrate every cell. That's what I was saying, why it's so important to know. It is the smallest molecule in the world. It can penetrate your skin, which actually all of these topical creams that people are selling, they aren't even small enough molecules to penetrate the skin and to actually work on the skin. They're only sitting on the surface layer, adding more weight. But molecular hydrogen can penetrate the skin. And I've actually done an experiment where I pour it on my left hand and I just kind of rub it in a little bit. And a few seconds later, I compare my two hands, and the hand I poured hydrogen water on will be incredibly soft, which is awesome to see. It's like repairing the skin. So this is an example of how it penetrates every cell in the body. And most of our imbalances in the body come because our cells can't properly hydrate themselves because the cell is malfunctioning, essentially. The overwhelming amount of stressors that we're exposed to start to create cell dysfunction. How many of you, drop a 1 in the comments if you feel like you could drink and drink and drink water, or you've ever had a time in your life where you could drink and drink water, but you never felt like you could quench your thirst. But here we are. So the way that molecular hydrogen supports regenerative health is directly at the cellular level, essentially. So all right, so hydrogen has this very unique ability to penetrate every single cell and begin to upregulate the mitochondrial function. The mitochondria is the power plant of the cell. Just like I explained, it produces all the energy. It's what gives, when you're feeling tired, this means that you have low mitochondrial function, right? The energy in the cell is low. There's a reason for fatigue. And so this is why molecular hydrogen is so powerful, because it actually goes right inside the cell and starts upregulating the function of the mitochondria. And in addition to that, hydrogen actually begins to regulate and manage the ROS, the reactive oxygen species, this big bad bear that can turn into excess amounts of oxidative stress, which then leads to inflammation and the pathogenesis of illness. So it's literally going to the source, and it says, there's too much ROS here. There's too much oxidant here. I'm going to bring in the reductant side. It essentially starts activating the cell to function at optimal capacity. I call it the miracle molecule. It downregulates stressors. It supports a healthy cell and healthy normal function. And in addition, molecular hydrogen is also proven to upregulate what we call NRF2 pathway. This pathway is the main pathway that protects the integrity of the cell. I'm going to keep it that simple. Essentially, what the integrity of the cell is the NRF2 is considered what's called a cytoprotective pathway. And that's a fancy word for saying cell protection. Okay. So anything that is to do with protecting the cell from detoxifying chemicals out, to increasing the energy source, to releasing hormones or signaling molecules, it upregulates that. It essentially goes right to source, upregulates NRF2, and now all cell functions are elevated. So your cell is as healthy, as functional, and as energized as possible, and it has its cytoprotective capabilities. So this is very important, because when our cells become weak, then we become susceptible to antigens, pathogens, parasites, or microbes. Like, we can really get ourselves into a state of illness. So when our cell is strong and we have this NRF2 pathway working optimally, we have a strong cell that's resilient to illness. And you will notice, I'm going to knock wood, less illness overall. Like, we're not making any medical claims, but colds won't hit you as often, in a sense. When your cell is in a healthy state, you will not catch everything that comes your way. All right, so I want to go through a little quick overview of what does molecular hydrogen actually do. Number one is antioxidant properties. So H2 acts as a selective antioxidant. It's very selective. So what that means is it only goes where there's damage in the body. Okay, so if I start drinking my molecular hydrogen water and say my brain needs the most energy, it actually has the ability to cross through the blood-brain barrier, unlike anything else, because of the size of the molecule, which is amazing. Usually the only thing that can penetrate a blood-brain barrier are toxic chemicals that we don't want in our body. So the molecular hydrogen has the ability to go right where it's needed. If that's the brain, if it's the kidneys, if it's, the adrenal glands, it will go there and it will start regenerating and neutralizing the harmful effects within that cell. It's essentially the world's most powerful antioxidant. It neutralizes free radical damage. And what antioxidant means, it's kind of overused. A lot of people focus on food as antioxidants, but antioxidant is actually the function of the cell itself. It's the ability of the cell to detoxify itself. And that's what it's upregulating. It's not just a food that invokes cell cleaning. It's actually going straight to the source of the cell and upregulating its antioxidant function. That's why molecular hydrogen is so powerful. Number two, anti-inflammatory effects of H2. Inflammation is the precursor to all illness. Anybody that has any diagnoses has what we call inflammation. And inflammation is helpful in an acute state. I like to give an example of if I walk into a room and bump my knee on a table, that's acute inflammation. It's helpful. I have extra white blood cells. I have extra red blood cells. I have extra oxygen and lymph surrounding that area to protect it, to help me repair it faster. Chronic inflammation is day in and day out, and the body cannot keep up anymore. And so this level of inflammation starts to suppress the immune system function, and we become weaker and more susceptible to illness. Number 3, it improves cognitive function. And there's tons and tons of scientific studies, over 2,000 scientific studies on molecular hydrogen. So science is on our side. Feel free to dive in and share those. But there are scientific research studies on improving cognitive function. They actually had some preliminary studies that suggest that H2 has these neuroprotective benefits and cognitive function. There was actually a huge research study that I read on the effects on Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. So these neurological disorders, because the way the hydrogen molecule is able to go right into the brain and start repairing the cellular function, it also is like a communicator. So it can tell bad cells, okay, it's time to go through apoptosis. And then it can also work within a cell that might be weak and start upregulating and repairing its function. Number 4 is a huge cardiovascular support. So H2 is shown to possibly help maintain cardiovascular health by reducing oxidative stress. We all know when we're under stress, nothing in our body is functioning properly. The actual thing that's happening when you're under a high level of oxidative stress, your body actually enters a fight or flight state. When you're in fight or flight, your body is essentially in survival, and all it's doing is managing pH. pH means potential for hydrogen, but your pH has to stay at a certain level. And so all your body's functions will go to maintain pH, keep this person alive, maintain pH, and it's not regenerating anything. So it's actually very, very important that we are not having so much oxidative stress that our body goes into a fight or flight state, because then we cannot self-repair. It also improves blood flow and supports healthy cholesterol levels. Actually, in one of the scientific studies that I read, it actually showed that it lowered LDL cholesterol, low density lipoprotein significantly. Why? Because the cell was able to detoxify itself properly and carry out its functions better. Therefore, it didn't accumulate triglyceride fatty acid waste. And those fatty acids have to be exited through the body by LDL. The body produces cholesterol because of demand. Just so you know, it's if there's too much triglyceride fat, then the body says, okay, I need to make cholesterol to help eliminate this and bring it out and metabolize it. Number 5 is enhanced exercise performance and recovery. I can attest to this. I have been powerlifting and doing deadlifts, and I should be so sore the next day, and I'm not, and I don't know how or why. And then I'm like, it's got to be the hydrogen, because I used to get sore. So it's amazing to see, because the hydrogen will go into the affected tissues and start regenerating and moving the lactic acid buildup out, because that's what it does, is it continues to neutralize and detoxify the cell. Gastrointestinal health is huge with molecular hydrogen. I love this. It's so promising for anybody that's dealing with autoimmune gastrointestinal conditions, all the way from, I don't want to make any claims, but like things like celiac and IBS and Crohn's. It is actually clinically shown to have a very positive impact on gut health by reducing the inflammation that's in the GI tract. So when our gut is too inflamed, our microvilli can't absorb nutrients. This is a huge part of our cellular breakdown. And so molecular hydrogen is in every single one of my protocols with anybody dealing with gastrointestinal distress. Number 7 is hydrogen. H2 is known to upregulate the NRF2 pathway, like I talked about, the cytoprotective pathway. So this is just kind of a brief overview of all of the amazing things that molecular hydrogen does. And with that said, it has a huge component in anti-aging. It's working from the inside out. I always say what you see on the outside is nothing more than the reflection of what's on the inside. So if the skin is aging, if things are happening, it's because of dehydration and cell dysfunction, cell breakdown. So we start working from the inside out. Not to mention, you can wash your face with the molecular hydrogen. The molecule can penetrate your skin, and you'll be able to start seeing that softness and that hydration show up in the skin. All right. So next, I want to answer some commonly asked questions. How is molecular hydrogen different from H2O? This is a great question, because who knows, right? Molecular hydrogen is H2. It's actually a gas. It's composed of two hydrogen atoms that are bonded together, while water is H2O. It's two hydrogens and one oxygen. We like to think of them as like, you know, these two hydrogens and oxygen are just connected. They actually aren't. They kind of are free flowing and they're changing ionic exchanges, but they are, the molecule itself is H2O is what composes water. And what happens is the chemical composition of the two molecules are significantly different because without the oxygen, they have very different properties and behaviors. So I actually love this question because it opens up clearly that people have a curious mind. And it's great because it's like, yes, well, shouldn't there be enough hydrogen in water to do all these things, right? That's a fair question. So what's the difference between H2 and H2O? Molecular hydrogen H2 and water H2O can have very different benefits in the human body. So we already went over the benefits of water, that it helps break down your nutrients, lubricate the organs, et cetera, et cetera. We know we need water. So what we're here to talk to you today about is molecular hydrogen water. So what happens with H2 is added? H2 has gained a massive amount of attention for its antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties that helps reduce oxidative stress. So because it's H2, which is this like essentially stable molecule that can penetrate and enter the cell and start upregulating its function, it also allows for deeper hydration to happen. H2, the gas, will react with cells that need it. Essentially, it's scavenging the body for free radical damage. H2 has that capability. H2O does not. Okay, so it's significantly different when we have a high level of H2, and the amount of therapeutic molecular hydrogen that you're producing is very important. Water is essential for overall hydration and bodily functions. It helps regulate temperature, transport nutrients, lubricate joints, and support your digestion, as well as flush out waste. Obviously, I always say constipation is dehydration. But while both H2 and H2O are important, the specific benefits of the body different. So H2 is essentially focusing on the therapeutic side. It's how do I repair the damage? While H2O is vital for overall hydration and physiological function. So now we've merged the worlds. And that's what we're presenting to you today, is the merge of these worlds. So what it does in the body now is molecular hydrogen water has gotten a lot of attention on the market. So I wanted to start by educating you how it works in the body and then wrap it up with why we are presenting and aligning with this specific molecular hydrogen vessel. So molecular hydrogen in the human body transports nutrients and oxygen to every single cell, and both within intracellular and extracellular. It's the major component of our blood, like we talked about. And now we're adding H2 to it. So when we add excess hydrogen, now we have the cells inviting in water hydration. So all of these functions are going better. But now we're also upregulating the cytoprotective pathway of the cell. We're upregulating the mitochondrial function and the energy. And we're actually bringing in the body's ability to detoxify the cell properly, which actually increases your overall hydration. So we took two of the most important foundations of human health and merged them in molecular hydrogen. So to answer some of your questions around this, how much molecular hydrogen water should I drink in a day? And I say all of the water you drink in a day should be molecular hydrogen. Can you overdo molecular hydrogen? No. What the body doesn't use, it just eliminates. Okay, there's right now there's over 2,000 like scientific clinical studies, and there's over 30,000 peer-reviewed studies that I've seen through PubMed and other places on molecular hydrogen. And to date, they have not found any negative side effects. Now, it's not saying there aren't any. So to date, science shows that there so far is not a bad side effect. So if you're pregnant, if you're nursing, if you're have autoimmune, like this is the better and better and better. All it's doing is improving cellular function. That's essentially it. So how does molecular hydrogen water enhance the benefits? So once we add H2 to water, it potentially enhances the benefits of human health due to the unique properties of H2, like I mentioned. So when we're consuming hydrogen-rich water, you are going to have an increased antioxidant capacity, which we absolutely need in today's day and age. We're constantly inundated with toxins. It improves our cellular function overall. It helps with cardiovascular diseases, especially neurological diseases, metabolic disorders, and neurodegenerative diseases. So, why doesn't regular water have enough hydrogen to be therapeutic like H2? This is a great question. I basically have kind of already answered it, but regular H2O does contain hydrogen, but the hydrogen H2O is tightly bound. I think this might be your extra repeat. So molecular hydrogen, though, is a gas, and this is not naturally present in regular water. You will not find it. So that is why it's different. So when we increase the concentration of H2 in water, it becomes possible to actually have therapeutic water. That's my PG answer. So last but not least, our bodies are designed to naturally get rid of cellular damage and mitigate exposure to all these toxins and but our body gets overwhelmed and just runs out of steam, essentially. And molecular hydrogen comes in, I say, to remind the cell how it's supposed to function, right? Hey, do you remember how to do this? It essentially comes in and activates the body's inner wisdom and makes it the best cell it can possibly be. So hydrogen, because of its unique ability to penetrate every single cell in the body, it's showing up as a massive lead in the field of regenerative science and regenerative medicine as the future of restorative modalities. I'll use those terminologies. So let's go into our bottle. I want to talk about why our bottle is the best. Okay, so the molecular hydrogen world is filled with tons of different bottles. Okay, so you can get a bottle. I found a bottle, guys, on Amazon for $37. That is scary. Okay. And now a lot of us don't know that if we're buying a bottle that's $37, you're actually buying something that is most likely, number one, not producing any therapeutic hydrogen whatsoever, but two, it's dangerous for you. We will leave all brands nameless, but here's our bottle. We call it our Vitality Vessel. There is nothing like this on the market. And with that said, Nuno Nina is the creator of CELLPOWER Water and Lumi Vitae. Our overarching company is called Lumi Vitae, which means light of life. CELLPOWER Water is our first product that is out. CELLPOWER has just gone through a redesign. Actually, the bottles have been in circulation for a multitude of years. Nuno Nina is a brilliant inventor, creator, scientist, engineer, all the things. He's owned over 70 clinics at one point and had over 70,000 patients through his clinics, helping them repair their bodies with the power of molecular hydrogen and frequency. So this is coming backed by years of clinical experience. Nuno has a pure heart to produce the best of the best. So our bottle looks like this. You can have desert gold or the graphite. And the top of it is the first thing that's different. Nothing else exists like this. The top is the sun, the light of life. So we actually have frequencies in the lid called Lumi Vitae, which means light of life. And there's 3 different settings on this so that you can activate. So we have energy, we have Lumi Vitae, which is the light of life frequencies, and then we have like a restorative, relaxed one. So you actually can produce what you want in the settings, in the frequencies, and these frequencies are going into the water. Now, water is shown to be the carrier of all information of life. We can imprint water. We know with Dr. Emoto's work that messages from water, that like if you put a word on water, it changes the formation and the structure of the water. So these frequencies are powerful, and what a beautiful way to basically essentially capture the energy of the sun, which is so important to our vitality and our life force. And if you've ever studied structured water, the sun structures water and it becomes therapeutic in our body. So we're bringing essentially the sun into our water. This lid also is multifaceted and it can unscrew, and you can actually use it to bring the sun energy into raw living foods. So essentially you're activating the highest energetic potential of that food. Next up, we have the magnetic field of the earth. And this is really, really amazing. And for a multitude of reasons, I will try to share mostly just the scientific components of it, but it's essentially mimicking the Earth's magnetic field. And this is very important for grounding and balancing the body and our circadian rhythms. But there's so much more to that. So Nuno actually gave me an answer on why he put the magnet in the bottle. So I'm going to read a little bit of what he said. But essentially the benefits are, one, the selection of magnetic fields advocates for essentially their ability to imprint and magnetize water. So it's believed that magnetic fields have a unique influence on water molecules, which is why we included it in the base. Number two is the magnetization of water. It's essentially exposed to these magnetic fields for a specific period of time. It essentially is thought to charge the water to become more vital, essentially. And then number three, so it's called magnetized water. Number three is the therapeutic advantage of magnetized water is to promote a therapeutic substance that be consumed and used in baths, on your skin, applied in different ways for people's health and well-being. And number four is it's believed in vital energy theory. This is a theory that essentially it permeates the body and the universe. Magnetized water permeates the body and the universe. It's seen as a vehicle for vital energy, and consumption is considered in a way to harness the benefits of this energy. And he just wants to make note that now this is not scientifically proven. These are large theories on, we know the magnetic field is so incredibly important to the Earth, but there is not a clinical study saying this is therapeutic, but there's a lot of evidence that suggests it. So we included the magnetic field of the Earth in the bottle to create some unique and vital life water. Now, pure hydrogen water. We are the leading technology on the market. There is nothing, literally nothing, that can duplicate what we have done. So in order to produce molecular hydrogen, you actually have to go through a process of what's called electrolysis. Electrolysis is very, very important. What you're doing is you're creating electrical charge to create a biochemical change, essentially. That's it. So think electrical current in the water starts to change the chemicals. All right, this is how we start to separate the anode from the cathode. So what that means is the hydrogen goes to the cathode, the oxygen goes to the anode, and they separate. Essentially, the water molecules separate. And this is how we're creating H2 in the bottle. Now, when you go through the process of electrolysis, it actually can produce a lot of byproducts. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. Is those byproducts can be very detrimental to human health, like chloride and the different things that are produced inside of the hydrogen, or inside the electrolysis process, need to be removed. And most bottles don't have this ability. So you are drinking whatever it has produced. So our bottle has the strongest membrane in the world. We have what's called the PEM membrane, the proton exchange membrane. And this is really, really important because what was once thought to be like the best membrane in the world is called the DuPont membrane. And we were able to take that membrane and just tear it in half. And why this is so important is these membranes, if they start to fall apart, they're leaching things into the water that you don't want. Our membrane is self-made and coated, and essentially it is indestructible. You cannot rip it. One of Nuno's things that he wanted to say about the membrane was, let me just go to that really quick. Our exact membrane doesn't have a coating like these other ones. So it's not leaching things into the water. It never peels off. And we have long-lasting performance that can withstand high temperatures. So that's the most important part, is this very high temperature threshold. You can make hot water with hydrogen to then make tea. Our bottle can withstand that. So when this process of electrolysis is happening, we have the strongest proton exchange membrane in the world. It's removing contaminants that are being produced outside of molecular hydrogen, and it removes them through a few drops in the base of the bottle. So these gases are essentially released through our self-releasing membrane, and you don't even have to worry about it. All you're getting out is pure molecular hydrogen water. Our molecular hydrogen water, we are producing 1.4 to 1.6 parts per million of molecular hydrogen. This is a therapeutic threshold. And when we tested a multitude of other bottles, and you're welcome to do this yourself if you want, there was no detectable molecular hydrogen out of these bottles, because most of them either can't produce it, or if they're producing it, it dissipates quickly. In our bottles, we have figured out how to capture and hold this hydrogen. And although it's recommended to drink within 30 minutes, we have also seen that 24 hours later, the hydrogen is still there. So, and with the bottle closed, not open. Hydrogen is a very free molecule. It'll just evaporate. Otherwise, if you leave the whole top open. So our bottle is superior in every single way. You get to customize your hydration, like I mentioned. So this is about selecting the frequency that resonates with you. We have frequencies in the lid. So you can choose the energy, the Lumi Vitae, or the restoration. And then we have chromotherapy, and this is just for our aesthetics, for our eyes, right? So we have different colors of light that are known to, like, color essentially is a frequency and can imprint the waters in ways, but it's mostly for our observatory, for our visual effects. So our bottle lights up, it bubbles, it has the magnetic field of the earth and the frequencies of the sun in the lid. You have the strongest self-releasing membrane in the world in our body, in our bottle, and our electrodes are actually custom made for us to never leach metals into the water. And this is what we are seeing with every other bottle that is on the market, is that they have poor electrodes that are leaching water, and that we aren't actually finding any therapeutic levels of molecular hydrogen. It is quite expensive to actually produce a bottle of this caliber. Very expensive, actually. And so if you're finding something for $30, $80, $200, even $300, it's actually not possible to come with this level of quality or this integrity. And I would highly recommend testing. You can get what's called an H4 reagent, and it's blue drops. And we did this on many bottles that claim to produce molecular hydrogen, and we pour the water, we put the blue drops in. If the water has hydrogen, the blue will stay blue, or excuse me, if the water has hydrogen in it, the blue drops will go in and the water will just continue to purify itself. It goes clear, clear, clear over and over. If the water does not, you put the blue drops in and the whole water turns blue. And multiple of these devices were tested and the water was blue. And so in ours, we put hydrogen drops in and continue to turn clear over and over. There's actually a video of this from our live Madeira training as well that we can share within our team feeds. But yeah, so that is essentially why molecular hydrogen, why this is the most advanced and regenerative modality that's out there, and everyone drinks water. It is life. So if everybody could be drinking molecular hydrogen water, how much could we improve our health in drastic ways for essentially free? The purchase of your bottle comes with a 2-year warranty, but it is known to have at least a 7-year lifespan. And we also have a base that it sits on for our charger as well. So this bottle is incredible. And I'm going to just wrap up by saying Lumi Vitae, which means light of life, is the company that we are all part of. If you've been brought to this call, we are just really aligning with getting this cutting edge science into the world so that people can have their own health sovereignty right at their fingertips. And with that said, if you're interested in joining us and learning more about what we're doing, we are here to spread this mission as large as possible and get everybody being able to drink therapeutic molecular hydrogen and know about the amazing opportunities that are here in life and in business. Our business structure is 2-tiered. We have the ability to just come in as an affiliate if you want. And that just means if you share a bottle with somebody, you get an affiliate referral. And if you also want to build a very large network or a very large team, that is also possible here. So I'm going to close out with that and actually open up if there's any questions at all for me. I hope you guys understood a little bit more about the cell without being overwhelmed, and understand why our bottle, just to say it like it is the best on the market. And as myself, as a practitioner and an institute and clinician owner, I only align with the highest caliber science that's on the market. And this was a full body yes for me. So thank you so much for your time. I will stop recording and then I will open up for questions.